Hello there, Jenny. Randy here. Remember me, right? Must be 20 years ago that we last spoke.
Huh? Randy? Seriously? Is this some kind of joke? This is a prank, right? Why do you even know my line contact?
I saw your line info on my mom's phone and got it from there. Without her noticing, of course.
Don't tell me. It was at Dad's funeral last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I couldn't very well miss my dad's funeral. It's been 20 years since I stepped into that house. I really didn't expect my ex-wife to be sitting there grieving with all the rest of my relatives.
I had no idea you were there.
Yeah, well, my mom was pretty insistent about me keeping a low profile. As a matter of fact, she especially wanted me to avoid you.
I see. I guess your mom was looking out for me.
I thought you were long gone, to be honest. After all these years, you're still friendly with my folks? Doesn't make sense.
Well, they felt bad that their son took off, abandoning your child. All they did was help their granddaughter. Couldn't just abandon her like they did. They supported me all those years. Your daughter was sitting right next to me at the funeral. I guess you didn't even notice her, did you?
Oh, yeah, I missed that. But I really can't get over it. What were my folks thinking? Taking you in and supporting you? And for what, 20 years? My God! Sorry, but I can't accept a daughter that you gave birth to. Never happened. If she's anything like you, the first thing that came to my mind was that she probably doesn't look very smart. I told myself I could never bring up such a half-wit. Don't you remember my educational background? I went to the top Ivy school in the country. I'm what you call one of the elites. And what, may I ask, kind of school did you send her to? Your local community college, I bet.
Are you still going on about that? How many times have I told you that you can't just judge people by what school they went to?
I told you I didn't want a kid, and when you went against my will and had one anyway, you wouldn't even consider putting her up for adoption. That's why I divorced you.
Well, you made the right decision.
Yeah, you could say that again. So, that means she's 20, huh? Already an adult.
What's it to you anyway?
I'm just curious how she turned out. That didn't get a look at her at the funeral, but I'm sure she looks as dumb as you.
I'm going to warn you right now. No way I'm going to allow you to meet her. She has no father.
Don't worry. I have no intention whatsoever of being her father. Forget that.
Hey, Mom. Just finished celebrating my birthday with friends.
Happy birthday, Wendy! How does it feel to be out of your teens?
All the same, nothing's changed. A bunch of us are heading over to the mall. Would you mind picking me in about 2 hours at the entrance?
Okay, no problem. The main entrance on Lincoln Street, right?
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
What is it?
we were at the cafe celebrating my birthday, and after we finished, my friend ran into this weird guy outside. Said something to her.
A weird guy. This was just a while ago? What did he say?
Yeah, like 15 minutes ago. He asked her if her mom's name was Jenny.
Are you serious?
Yeah, guy was like in his mid-50s, dressed kind of like a bum, and smelled pretty bad. I was wondering that maybe it was Dad. Didn't he come to Grandpa's wedding last month? He sent you a line message, right? You said he was keen about my 20th birthday or something. I wonder if he stopped by to get a look at me?
Well, if the guy is in his 50s, 4 years older than me, there is a good possibility it could be him.
Oh my god. Are you serious?
Just don't be alone while at the mall until I pick you up. You got that? If by chance you run into him, just act like you don't know him and don't tell the guy your name. Do that and you'll be okay.
Yeah, got it, Mom. I'll be careful. Mom? Are you there? I think I just ran into my father.
Excuse me? You what?
Friend of mine went to the restroom and ran into this guy standing outside. The guy asked her if her mother's name was Jenny. Apparently her mom's name is Gina. I don't know, maybe she just heard wrong, but anyway, she said yes. Once this guy heard that, he started bad-mouthing her, calling her names, calling her mom a whore, and chastising the way she was dressed. Right away, I thought it was Dad, and that he was actually talking about me. So I had to step in to help her. I mean, she was on the verge of tears. I don't know if that gave me away, that he knew I was actually his daughter, but anyway, I saved my friend, and we ran into the ladies' room to get away from the guy.
Oh my god, seriously? Just glad you're okay. I'm on my way over there. Just stay there until I arrive. You got that? Where's the bathroom at?
The one right next to Starbucks. Hurry up, Mom.
Just as I thought. She looked even dumber than you. But seriously, I didn't think she would be that bad. She was dressed like some call girl on 5th Street, for God's sake. You say she just turned 20? You're not serious. Are you sure she even went to high school? Right when I was talking to her, her buddy steps in and took her away. Now, if that friend was my daughter, I could forgive you. She looked way smarter and very pretty to boot.
That girl you lambasted at the mall, that was your daughter's classmate. And that pretty girl was your daughter, you idiot.
Huh? Say again?
Yeah, the girl's mom's name is Gina. Probably misheard you or something. I mean, it's not every day that some weirdo bum accosts you at the mall.
Excuse me?
Are you dense? That was not your daughter. Mistaken identity.
Huh?
Oh, and that girl you accosted? She's a college student.
What? You're kidding.
You accosted an innocent girl in public. Do you really think you'll be forgiven for chastising a young woman in public? It's the talk of the town now. People suspect that it was you. Totally embarrassing. How could you do such a thing?
Right. I was just... I thought she was...
And another thing, my daughter is a college student now, too. Just so you know.
Oh, yeah? Well, anybody can get to college nowadays. Like I said, probably some second-rate community college. What's she majoring in? Gender studies? I mean, you gave birth to her, and at a pretty late age of that, too. Giving birth late in the game deprives them of adequate brain cells.
Actually, she's heading to the UK next semester. Cambridge. I wouldn't say it's a community college.
Excuse me? You mean Cambridge? That Cambridge? That's one of the top schools in the world. What? Do you have connections or something? How could she get in?
No connections. Actually, she wanted to go to a local art school, but changed her mind and said she wanted to go overseas and picked Cambridge University. She applied and was accepted.
Hold on one second. How could you even afford to send her there?
Are you talking about me paying the tuition?
Yeah, a single mom like you. A woman that happily gave up a highly educated elite like myself. How could such a loser afford to pay tuition to Cambridge, for God's sake? No way you could afford to send your daughter to a university overseas. And besides...
Let me stop you right there, Randy. You're forgetting one thing.
What are you talking about?
If you recall, I was a manager at the company I was working for back when we got divorced. You do remember that time, don't you? Or are you senile already?
I'm just fine, thank you.
Well, it's been 20 years since then. Things have changed quite a bit. I'm a successful businesswoman now.
Huh? You're not serious.
Nevertheless, Wendy didn't want to be a burden and worked part-time for years to save for tuition. I think I did a pretty good job raising my daughter. And as for your mom and dad, they really felt bad about what you did to us, leaving us high and dry, abandoning your own daughter. They supported us all these years, more than you can imagine.
But I was only trying to... Hey, Jenny, are you there? Pick up ASAP. Why aren't you here? Where the hell are you?
Excuse me?
I put aside my pride and decided to get back together with you. I brought all my stuff. I'm ready to move back in with you. So, where the hell are you?
Wait. Pardon me?
I came here to the house with all my luggage and rang the doorbell. And guess who answered the door? Big muscular dude, tattoos up and down his arms.
Randy, I have no idea what you're blabbering about. Hold it a second. Did you go to the Village Apartments down in Riverside? That old place we used to live? Is that place still standing?
Yeah, that's right. Where do you think I would go? If you're gonna move out, give me a heads up for God's sake. Man, that was embarrassing as hell. So, where are you living now? Give me the damn address. I'll hop in a cab and get over there right away.
Hey, Randy.
Boy, oh boy, I'm gonna regret getting back together with you if you keep acting like such a doof.
I've been happily married for the past 10 years.
Pardon me?
We lived there until Wendy finished junior high. We moved after that. That was like 10 years ago. Got married soon afterwards. We bought a house and have been living there with my folks ever since.
You married some other guy? Are you serious? This was 10 years ago?
Randy, what the hell is wrong with you? I mean, you abandoned your daughter even before she was born, and I haven't heard from you in 20 years, and now you want to marry me? That's crazy! Even if I was still single, no way I would ever get back with you again. You're living in fantasy land, Randy.
Yeah, well... I was only trying to... tell you the truth. I was fired from my job.
Huh? You got fired?
Yeah. We had a new employee come in. She graduated from the same school as me, so we hit off nicely, but I suppose I pushed it a bit far. Well, to make a long story short, she accused me of stalking her.
Are you telling me that you got fired for being a stalker? You were stalking one of your company employees?
Yeah, and I got kicked out of the apartment I was living at too. I couldn't cover the rent. At this age, I'm just not able to land a good job. That was about the time Dad died, and so I figured I would get a little inheritance, but it turns out he left me out of his will. I was left with nothing. I really thought it was the end for me, but then found out you were doing very well for yourself, and so I figured you could.
Hold it right there. You were hoping I would take care of you? Is that it?
Yeah. I guess it's about right.
Oh, yeah? What happened to the super savvy Ivy League success story you're always talking about? So after all these years, you managed to become a pervert. A stalker of young women, is that it? My God, what is happening to you, Randy?
I tried to.
And about your mom, she's going to enter the senior citizen home now that her husband has passed away. All she has to do now is sell the house and just move into the home. It's all set. Which means you have no home to go back to. Is that about right?
Why? Why? Why doesn't anything go my way? I graduated from an elite Ivy League school. I was guaranteed a successful life. I had it made. What did I do that was so wrong? I deserve better than this.
I think you relied too much on which school you went to and not on your character.
Huh?
Being smart and being an honorable person, it's hard to balance the two. You really should have worked on the latter. I recommend that you work on that going forward.
Hey, come on, Jenny. Let's discuss this, huh?
If you come around here again, I'm going to get my lawyer to make you pay for Wendy's child and education support, which you neglected to pay all these years. Are you ready for that?
Please. I don't have that kind of money.
Well, if that's the case, we never want to see you again. Forever. And I mean it. Forever.
Could you at least give me some money? I can't survive without some money.
Goodbye. I later heard that Randy returned to his old apartment. Apparently, he had it until the end of the month. In order to survive, he got a job as a construction worker for the time being. I hear he's just getting by. But old habits die hard, and he kept mentioning his so-called elite background, which, as you can imagine, that kind of condescending attitude infuriated people around him. Well, he certainly lost a lot of friends with such an attitude. Actually, I'm not all that surprised. If that wasn't enough, he was sued by that girl's family, the one he berated at the mall, and ended up having to pay compensation for emotional distress he caused their young daughter. All that was in a letter he wrote to me. The letter was 5 pages long. It went on and on about how the world had victimized him. I barely got through the first page before putting it through the shredder.
Trinity? Could you tell me the reason why you and your husband were in my room earlier? If you guys are planning to stay the night here, would you both please go to the guest bedroom? Oh, hi, Ari. I was surprised that you actually went outside the house for once, but I guess you're home now. This place is my home, so of course I'd be coming back. Now, could you and your husband please come here and get your things out of my room? What? What's wrong with us wanting to be in there? Do you really think it's a bad thing that my husband and I want to get a taste of what this room feels like in this penthouse here? Then go to the guest bedroom. It has the same view as my room, but the only difference is that it's not already occupied. We only just put our stuff down in there, though. You really think you can just come into this house and do as you please? I'm sorry, but my bed is off limits to anyone else, as it was specifically made to my needs. I get that it's comfy, but it's not meant for you. Oh? So, you found out what I was really after in that room, then? Well, if you chose my room over the guest bedroom, the only real difference is the bed, so that was pretty obvious to me. If you and your husband do anything in that bed while I'm out of the house, I am telling you right now that you'll both be charged $10,000 to get me a new one. $10,000 is what you paid for that? You really expect me to believe something like that? I hope you do, considering that's the price I had to pay. So come and get your things right now. The fact that everything always has to be about you is so annoying. Ari, you've really gone and done it this time. What did I do? You went and took some of my money out of my purse, right? Huh? I am not in that much of a need for money where I'd do something like that to my own sister. Yeah, sure. That's probably because you're always taking Mom and Dad's money like some thieving parasite. What did you say? What are you talking about? The other day, I was in your bedroom, right? Well, I had accidentally left my purse in there when you kicked my husband and I out. So when I went in there to grab it today, there should have been around $500 in it, but there was only $200. Huh? I don't know what happened to your money. Actually, I never even saw that your purse was left in my room these past couple of days. Did you really forget to take it out of my bedroom the other day? That's what I expected the criminal to start saying next. I already had a talk with both Mom and Dad, and they told me they never went into your room. So that would mean while my purse was forgotten about in your room, you found it and took $300 out of it before putting it back where I had forgotten it. This is so stupid. So you're not going to confess to any of it? Hey, Trinity. Could all of this be happening because you want to start living in my penthouse? We are not talking about your penthouse right now. This is about that money which was in my purse. I want you to give me back that $300 you stole from me first before we talk about anything else here. I told you I don't know what happened to your money. Jeez, Ari. This is exactly the reason for why you're 40 years old and can't get married still, right? Now, what does that have to do with anything? You know what a lot of people call women like you? They call you a middle-aged woman still living in her nursery room. Huh? You don't work any kind of a job and you live off the money your parents make. A 40-year-old useless shut-in. I have a job, though. You have no idea how hard it is to make money in this world, and probably still think it just grows on trees or something, and that's why you ended up stealing my money from my purse. I have told you 3 times now, I don't know anything about that purse. It's so upsetting that a woman in her 40s had to steal money from her little sister. For Christ's sake. So you have no interest in actually listening to anything I have to say, do you? I'm not going to think of some money-stealing criminal woman as my older sister anymore, so it's over between you and I. I'm cutting ties to you. From now on, my husband and I will be living in this penthouse. It kind of sucks that Mom and Dad are still going to be living here with us, but that will only last a couple more years before they both croak. And while they're still around, they'll make for 2 great housekeepers. So this is goodbye to you, Ari. Have fun on the streets now after you're kicked out of this place. I knew this is what you were wanting. I have to say, the fact that you've already lived close to half of your life and have still not gotten a taste of the real world is really disappointing. So hopefully, kicking you out of this penthouse once and for all helps you grow a little. Aren't you embarrassed to be 40 now and still not have any experience working for a company? And that's not even as bad as how ashamed you should be feeling for stealing $300 out of my purse. I'm not unemployed, and I was not the one that stole your money. But if this is how you want to play this game, then I'll play along with you. I'll be out of this place as soon as possible. Good. I will praise you on the fact that you came around to accepting your crimes pretty quickly there. I want you out of this penthouse in 1 hour, all right? Once again, I'm going to have to praise you for getting all your things together and moving out of this house in under an hour. Honestly, hearing praise from someone like you gives me the opposite feeling of being happy. I'm sure you're dying on the inside right now, right? That's right. That bet of yours, the $10,000 one. I'll be taking it now. So what you mean is you'll be paying me $10,000 to take it, right? What are you going on about? It wasn't even you that paid for the bet in the first place. It was Dad that got this thing for you. Excuse me? Really? Knowing about how you forced Dad to buy you this kind of an expensive bed, even though he was already paying for you to eat and sleep in this house, is really sly of you. And that pisses me off a little. I cannot believe that for the past 2 years, ever since you completely shut yourself into this place, you've done nothing but take advantage of others and make things all about yourself. You've received enough of everyone's money now, right? From now on, it's my turn to lay back and enjoy this fancy penthouse while Mom and Dad pay for my husband and I. Trinity, you really have no idea what you've gotten yourself into. Wait, it's more like you've just forgotten everything about what happened a few years ago. Trying to threaten me by saying some really vague and stupid things like that aren't going to scare me away. Don't you ever come back here, all right? Bye-bye. I'll hold you to that then. Ari! Hey! What is this about this place costing $16,000 a month to live in? This penthouse has already been paid off by Dad now, right? He just came up to me and said that if I want to start living here with my husband forever, then we'll need to start paying the rent. And what's this about you having been the one paying the rent this whole time? What's Dad even going on about right now? How could a jobless parasite like you have had the money to afford a place like this? I told you I'm not unemployed, Trinity. And if you'd like a little more detail into what I'm doing for work, I'm running a decently sized company as the CEO. Stop lying, you idiot! Mom already told me about how you never leave the house except for maybe a couple of times a month. That's because I'm normally working remotely from my bedroom. And the only reason I really have to leave the house at all is to go to the office building and hold meetings or talk with some customers in person. That's what Mom meant by that. Now, listen here. We are not living in the 20th century anymore. This is the 21st century now, where people can be employed yet not ever have to leave their home. And recently, due to a lot of world events, companies have been more open to letting their employees work from home instead of having to make any commute into the office. I don't need to listen to you talking about all that crap. And another thing, Trinity, has your mental health gotten any better? I ask that because it seems that you've only gotten worse when it comes to how you twist situations to your benefit, so that you never have to listen to anything others are saying to you. Did you stop going to see that therapist or something? Come on! I had thought this whole time that Dad bought this amazing penthouse with the money he got from his pension after he left his company and retired. So you forgot what happened with Dad then when he retired? Come back here already, Ari! I can't do that. Remember that I'm holding you to your word now? And that word was you saying for me to never return there again. But there's nobody here that can afford to pay this kind of rent! Well, then you should have actually been listening to me. Shut the hell up! Ari! Both Mom and Dad left the penthouse! They even took all the things that were left over in your room and left! There's not a single person in this house that can help pay for the rent now! My husband's been telling me over and over again that he's not earning enough to pay for this place. $16,000 is way too crazy for him and I to afford. Well, it's not like you'll be paying it anyway, considering that this is the last month you can live in that penthouse. After that, the lease will be finished and you both will have to leave. What? I made sure to end my lease there a while ago, and this was the last month before the landlord said he'd be placing the penthouse back on the market. If you want to continue living there, then you'll have to apply for the place and hope you're accepted. But of course, that'll mean you both have to start paying rent. What the hell are you talking about? It's only been 2 years since you, Mom, and Dad moved into this place, right? I know that. And from the very beginning, we only really were planning to stay there for around 2 years. Why would you only want to stay for that short period of time? Trinity. Because of you, Mom and Dad were no longer able to live in the house they had before. You know, the one you and I both grew up in? You seriously forgot literally everything that happened back then? What? You went and forced one of your former classmates to give up their husband and let you take him, right? And, well, that former classmate of yours, Grandpa, just so happened to be the technical owner of the land Mom and Dad's house was on. That man ended up getting very, very upset with you and the family and forced both Mom and Dad out of their house to have it torn down. And then he went and sold the land to someone else. But before he could do that, Dad was forced by him to pay for the house's demolition and for the land to be cleaned up, which cost Dad most of his retirement and all. What the hell? How? So that's what happened with you. You didn't forget about what happened, rather you just never cared about how it would later affect your parents. But Ari... I told Mom and Dad that I could step in and pay off the settlement that was being asked from them by your former classmate and her parents. But they told me it wasn't any of my responsibility. So I thought, at the very least, I would take Mom and Dad, who had lost their house at the fault of you, and I would put them in a penthouse with me since the both of them had always wanted to live in one of the skyscrapers downtown. So after they had paid all their dues that you caused, they came to me and we moved into the penthouse together. Mom and Dad were in tears about what I was giving them, and I asked them how long they wanted to live there, and they both agreed on 2 years. So that's why your lease is over with now? Although I'm kind of surprised that Mom and Dad even allowed you to come over to my penthouse after all your cheating husband and thieving self had done to them. Huh? Are you aware why Mom and Dad were both living with me in that penthouse now? Because of all that you'd done. And if you'd like to know, the only reason you and your husband were actually allowed past security is because I allowed it. What the? I had always thought that Mom and Dad were so happy to pay off that settlement for me, and then chose to buy that penthouse with Dad's retirement after I left. And that you forced your way into there after leaving the part-time job you had and making them pay for all your needs. I thought that if Mom and Dad could afford a penthouse like that and pay for a full-grown woman like you, then they really were rich, and that got me all excited. Well, in reality, all of this was forced to happen because of what you'd done, and it was rough for all of us since. I really thought you already knew about everything that happened since you were the cause of all of it. I would really like to know what's inside that massive head of yours. It can't be considered a true brain or anything by any form of scientific method, can it? And this is why Mom and Dad were asking you to please go and see a therapist. I never thought my own sister would say that about me. Hey, can you tell me where Mom and Dad moved to? Not happening. Why not? Because they've both demanded that I never tell you. Then where have you moved to, Ari? I'm sure that things are so lonely for a single 40-year-old woman, right? My husband and I will come live with you to help make you feel better. What a freaking joke. I'm not even single anymore. What? You got married without telling me? That's right. Then how about you let my husband and I live there and we can all be a happy double couple family? I don't want you causing any trouble for my husband, so I'm not telling you where I live. No way. How about you stop acting like everything's about you and get real, Trinity? You have now not only been disowned by both Mom and Dad, but you've also lost the privilege of calling me your older sister. What? Honestly, something like this should have happened a lot sooner. I think right after you stole that man away from someone else and married him, while also causing both Mom and Dad to lose their home and money, we all should have cut ties to you. Maybe Mom and Dad both thought that after a few years you'd change. But considering the kind of freak you are mentally, there is no way you'd get any better. You didn't even bother going through more therapy, instead just making up a plan to have me kicked out of the house by saying I stole your money. Ugh. There's no hope for you anymore. You're not going to be living in that penthouse for much longer, and you won't be finding any of us. Wait! The apartment my husband and I had been living in before, we ended the lease on it, so... Well, that penthouse's lease is also ending, so find somewhere new to live from now on. But there's nowhere left we can go! Make sure you're out of there before the end of this month. Goodbye forever. Wait a second, Ari! We can figure something out for me. Trinity and I are 10 years apart in age. Which means she's 30 years old now, yet you probably would never be able to guess that by the way she acts so much like a selfish and spoiled brat. Ever since I can remember, she's always been wanting the things I had. But who could have seen her behavior getting any worse to the point she'd go after other people's things, like their husband? And it's a bit more than 2 years since that happened. These last 2 years, my parents and I have done our best to move past the horrible memories she implanted in us. But after thinking she'd be back a better person, she only proved to us that her mental health was not fixable. And because of that, she's no longer a part of this family. On the day her and her husband had to leave that penthouse, they got into this huge fight that led to their divorce. But the issue there was that my sister had no money at all, so she couldn't afford to even rent the most basic of places. Therefore, she had to contact my rather hard ass of an aunt, who came and picked her up to move out with them and work on their farm. Our aunt went ahead and made a deal with Trinity, which was that by working on her farm and paying my parents back every cent they lost because of her 2 years ago, she would not have to be abandoned by the rest of the larger family as well. Seems that her life of having no money at all is going to continue on for a couple more years now.